Hello and welcome to another fountain pen review. Today we're going to be taking a look at my Wahl Eversharp sterling silver pen and pencil set right here. You might know Wahl Eversharp from the razors or their shavers. This is actually a different type of Wahl company. They just happen to have the same name. The Wahl Eversharp company for writing was started around 1912, 19 teens, around that era. The shaving company started in 1919. If you want to double check me, go for it. I think that's when they were started. So these are two completely unrelated fields right here. When black hard rubber became prominent, they bought up another company who made rubber fountain pens and started to produce rubber fountain pens instead. Today we're going to be looking at this set, which is a complete set. They both have the same initials, and those initials, I believe you can see, if you can see there, are F and T right there, both on the pencil and the pen. Let's go ahead and take a look at the pencil first and do a head-to-toe inspection. Before I get there, this set was made in the early 1920s, thereabouts, and they're both completely solid sterling silver. Keep in mind that most overlays were black hard rubber overlaid with a gold or silver pattern, as you see on my Waterman 14 right here. Another good example, this Wahl rolled gold, you have the black hard rubber shell with a rolled gold finish covering the black hard rubber. This was very common, however, this is not how these pens were made. These are actually completely solid sterling silver all the way around. Let's get back to the head-to-toe inspection. At the very top of the pencil you have a ring right here, and this is for hooking onto a lanyard or ribbon to be held around your neck. You've got some filigree pattern right here at the very top, and let's move our way down. It says Wahl Eversharp at the very top, followed by the words sterling silver and made in USA. Coming down, you have the rest of the body, which has this engraving and pattern in here, this floral pattern, which is absolutely gorgeous. And it just tapers down to the point right here, and it accepts a 1.1 millimeter thick lead. Let me just go ahead and open this up really quickly for you. The way this works, I think, is you'll need to drop a lead in there first initially, and the lead, if my camera will focus, is going to sit right in that hole right there. There's some threads in here which are affixed to this little slider right here, and every time you screw the top, this little pin retracts out, pushing the lead out of the pencil. This is a very primitive form of a mechanical pencil, and it's not perfect because if I put the lead in, over a point of time, because the lead is just a hair too big for the opening, it's essentially forced through the hole, and if you've done this long enough, which has happened to me, the lead begins to slide in and out of the opening quite freely. So this isn't a perfect system. Let's move on to the fountain pen. Again, we have this ring at the very top for the same reason, to hook a lanyard or a ribbon around it. At the very top it has the same inscription. It says Wahl Pen in this case. Sterling, made in USA, and this little bit underneath says patent applied for, and then has nothing. No patent number, it just says patent applied for. And again, you have this absolutely gorgeous engraving of a floral pattern right here. Moving down to the rest of the pen, you have this floral pattern, you have a lever right here, and then you have the engraving right there, the personal initials, which reads, I believe, F and T, if I'm not mistaken. And then you have the back of the pen, which has no design, and this is supposed to hold the cap for posting. And then at the very back, you just have a very reflective surface of sterling silver. You can see my camera right there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the nib. Now, this grip section, I'll get back to in just a sec. The nib, let me zoom in on here, is not the original nib. This is a juicy Schaefer's 33 stub nib. Now, the nib that comes with most of these pens is a Wahl number 2 size nib. In itself, these nibs are very good. They have a semi-flex character to them. However, the nib that came on this pen was very messed up. It was very scratchy and very unpleasant, so I decided to swap in this Schaefer 33 stub that I got off of another pen of mine. Now this grip section is a little bit interesting because it is black hard rubber underneath a layer of sterling silver right here. Some of the lower end models of this pen, as I'm showing you right here, just have the black hard rubber exposed, and then it transitions to this rolled gold underneath right here. This pen is completely functional. There's a sack inside of here, and this lever pushes down on a bar inside of here, which then pushes down on an ink sac to fill up the pen. Posting wise, it posts actually very securely. I give it just a little bit of a twist, there it goes, and it posts just like that. For me, I would have to use the pen like this because unposting the pen like this is very uncomfortable, and I can't really write with it very comfortably for a long period of time. The pencil is also on the smaller side. I don't find this too comfortable to write with. By the way, this is a ladies set. I should have mentioned that earlier. Okay, without further ado, let's go ahead and do some writing tests. I'm going to actually start with the pencil and write with it, which for me, it writes basically just like a pencil. You can see that lead being not held in there very tightly, so it writes pretty much just like a pencil. I don't have any complaints about it other than the lead keeps popping out. So this could work very well as a usable pencil. But what we're really interested is the writing of this pen. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm using Clairefontaine graph paper, and I'll be using some Parker Quink. So let's get to it. So repeating myself again, this thing is very smooth. This thing is like butter. We are seeing a little bit of skipping in here. I'm not quite sure if that's because of the nib, the feed, or the ink. You can see quite a lot of ink pooling up on the feed right here, and I have noticed that this pen is prone to what I call sneezing. And what I mean by sneezing is that if you mishandle this pen a little bit, that ink will start to pool up in the cap right here, which isn't completely uncommon. So just to, and I don't encourage you to do this, but if I just give it a little shake, we can start to see ink starting to accumulate everywhere, and I'm sure there's some in the cap as well. Let's do a little bit of faster writing. And what we're seeing is some skipping on the downstroke right here. The upstroke seems to be very consistent. The downstroke is starting to get a little fuzzy, as we can see right there. So it's good to go slowly with this nib. So if I go slow my handwriting down just a little bit, then you have a much more consistent line. Now, the one thing that's really beautiful about stub nibs is that they're a little bit italic. So if I go straight down, you have a nice thin line going down, and then you get a nice broad stroke going across. So just to illustrate, I'm not pushing on the nib at all. You can still see a little bit of line variation right here. If I do push on the nib, you can squeeze out a pretty modest amount of line variation right here. Not too much, but just a little bit. In terms of wetness though, this thing is pretty juicy, as you can see right here. Writing with it upside down, you can hear it scratching a little bit on the downstroke. And it's not the most pleasant feeling in the world, but you can get a very thin and very dry line, as you can see here. But again, the line starts to break up once you start writing a little bit more quickly with it. And finally, let's go ahead and see if we can press the slit of the nib into the paper to see if we can produce anything interesting. Which, not really, because this grip section, the top of the grip section is getting in the way, so the answer to that is no. Can't really get anything interesting this way. So, pros and cons, what have we got here? Well, first I want to make it absolutely clear, this is a gorgeous set. It's a matching set, you don't get to see this very often, and these pens are not all that rare or expensive. As beautiful as they look at the filming of this video, the Wahl brand, the Eversharp line, has been relatively inexpensive compared to vintage Parkers or Watermans and most certainly Mont Blancs. You'll see these going for about $75 to maybe $200 at the very most at the time of this video. It may or may not go up or down. I don't know. So pros and cons, let's start the pros for the pencil. I like the design. This stamped or pressed engraving on here is absolutely gorgeous. You can feel it, but it's not sharp. It feels like it's textured. Even being sterling silver, it doesn't feel too heavy. It doesn't feel like it's made out of plastic, but it doesn't feel like it's made out of lead, if that makes sense. Now, the same goes with this fountain pen. I really like the floral engravings in here. I don't know if this was machine pressed or hand engraved. Nevertheless, I think it looks stunning. The nib is excellent. I'm really happy I put this nib on here because this pen, it just encourages me to want to write with this pen. So some general complaints I have about this set is, first of all, the size. These things are pretty small, and I don't find myself using these as often as, say, a Waterman 52. Just in terms of like the size, I prefer a pen that I could actually hold more comfortably as such. That said, I do use the fountain pen from time to time, of course posting it. In that case, I'm totally fine writing for long sessions with this pen. Another complaint, and this is going to be a general complaint for ladies' pens, is these rings on the top. They just kind of flop about and just click and clack all the time, and they're kind of super annoying, even with this guy too. And the other complaint I have about this pen is unscrewing it, so listen to this. It's got, you don't get that on hard rubber. Maybe a little bit, but not as much as... So it's a really kind of a nasty sound to it, so that's what you get for having metal on metal, especially sterling silver on sterling silver. Same story here, the ring. The size could be bigger, I wish it was just a little bit bigger. And the unusual lead size of 1.1 is very hard to find. So that's going to do it for this review today. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Leave a like on this video if you've liked it, and go ahead and subscribe if you want to see more. And coming up now is a close-up montage of this pen and pencil set. See you guys in the next video.